Our final song of the evening will be Wavin' Flag by Kanon. It truly is a grand finale featuring all 3 grades, almost 300 kids on stage. You can imagine that getting them all to practice together was a lot of effort, so thank you very much to our homeroom teachers for your flexibility in helping us make this work. Featuring African drums, featuring bucket drums to replace djembes, ukuleles, xylophones, and a choir. This piece is going to be fantastic. But the story behind it, that's the reason we're doing this. Waving Flag is the story of a young man from Somalia who immigrates first to the States and then to Canada. His journey isn't easy. He doesn't leave his amazing country that he loves because he wants to. He left because he had to. It wasn't safe. I think that's something that students in our building can relate to. There are many children here who come from families who've traveled and been refugees. We also have a large population of students who've just moved from other countries. Canada is a country of immigration. Unless you're Indigenous, your family came from somewhere. My family came from Scotland and Ireland in the 1700s and 1800s. But everybody's family came at different times, some of us just more recently. Learning a new language and adapting to a new culture, and not to mention the weather, all of these challenges are things that the students in our building can relate to because many of them are experiencing them right now in real time. We are grateful for everyone who attends Northcott, whether you were born in Canada, whether you're Indigenous and your people have been here forever, or if you've come here from somewhere else. At Northcott Prairie, we all belong. In Airdrie, we all belong, and in Canada, we should all belong. So for that reason, we chose this song. Now, we couldn't find a version that was written for 300 students with all sorts of instruments, so being me, I'm like, fine, I'll just write one myself. So I got started and I wrote what I thought was great, and then I brought it to them, and the grade 5s were like, no, we can do this better. And they changed it all up on me. So it's been a real collaborative process. We've combined the FIFA World Cup version with the original story of a child refugee to bring this performance alive for you tonight. So I hope you will enjoy the Waving Flag, because we've sure enjoyed putting it together for you. Featuring 2 soloists, Xavier and Isaac from our grade 5 class, and a full African drumline, xylophones, ukuleles, and of course, the choir. We really hope you'll enjoy this song. When I Get Older, the story behind Wavin' Flag by Kanon, illustrated by Rudy Gutierrez. My name is Kanon. Until I was 13 years old, I lived in Mogadishu, a city that was like a sparkling jewel. Mogadishu is in Somalia and sits on the Horn of Africa. The entire Indian Ocean was my backyard. Boats came and went all day long, bobbing on the sky-blue water. I lived with my mother, my brother and sister, and my grandfather in a bright white stone house in the center of a busy city. My grandfather was one of the most famous poets in all of Somalia. Whenever I didn't feel well, he would recite his poems to me as we watched the sunset. His poems were like medicine. They told the best stories I've ever heard. We didn't have a lot of money, so we often made our own toys. We made skateboards out of old wheels and pieces of wood. One day, my friends and I rode our skateboards while holding on to a truck. We were afraid to let go, and the truck took us far away. We got in big trouble, but my mother never stayed mad for long. One morning, I woke up to a scary sound like angry bees coming from the street outside my window. There was gunfire everywhere. Was this what war sounded like? We couldn't play outside anymore, and everyone was frightened. My grandfather wrote me a short poem, and we read it aloud together. When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. My mother wanted us to leave Somalia and move somewhere safer. Every day, she walked to the government buildings to try and get us the official papers we needed to allow us to live in a new country. I was frightened when she went out into the street, but my mother was brave. One day, my mother came rushing home with the special papers that would take us across many oceans to America. I was happy that we would be safe, but I was also afraid. My friends couldn't come with us, and neither could my grandfather. Poems will be your courage, my grandfather told me. Just say, when I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. Our new home was New York City. The buildings were as tall as 10,000 men, and the cold wind bit me on the back of my neck. We lived with my uncle in Harlem. I couldn't understand anyone. The clothes I wore were all wrong. I was embarrassed and confused, and I missed Mogadishu. At night, I thought about my grandfather, and I whispered to myself, when I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. When you come to a new country, you need a lot of papers. We didn't have the right ones to stay in the United States, so after 6 months, we had to leave again. This time for a place called Toronto, Canada. Canada gave us new papers and a new name, refugees. I didn't know what that meant. My mother said it was a name for people who had to leave a country because it wasn't safe. Canada was calm. Canada felt safe. On the first day of winter, it snowed. I had never seen snow. I wore my sandals to school because I liked how the snow felt on my feet. But everyone laughed at me, and my teacher told me I should wear my boots. It was hard to learn a new language, but by the time the snow melted, my English was getting better. A boy called me a mean name and said Africa was a dirty and ugly place. I got really mad, and I punched him. My mother had to come to the school and talk to the teacher. Mom told me I should talk about my feelings instead of fighting, but that isn't always easy to do. Talking is better than fighting, but singing is even better. There were other kids at school who had to leave a home far away and who struggled to learn a new language like me. We all looked different, but we all liked to play, and we loved our music class. This is where we got to sing. Songs are like poetry. I told my new friends about my grandfather and the poem he wrote for me. They told me I was a good singer. Singing made me feel as if anything were possible. When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. At the end of the school year, the teacher announced that we had to sing a song to the whole school. I asked my friends from different countries and my friends from Canada if they wanted to sing my grandfather's poem with me. I wasn't afraid anymore. Grandfather was right. Music made me safe.